All right, everyone, welcome. We're an hour and a half into the 24-hour podcast, and my name is Todd Cochran, of course. I encourage you to get over to geeknewscentral.com, check out all the great content over there. The 24-hour podcast is a charity event to raise money for Ronald McDonald House Charities. We'd appreciate any donations that you would make, whether it be small or large. It definitely helps. Every penny helps. I haven't checked the totals yet. I'll do that here in a little bit. But definitely get over to geeknewscentral.com. Check us out. I've got Rob Greenlee from Microsoft, actually part of the Zune team on the line. Rob, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic this morning. How about you, Todd? You're just at the beginning of your journey, aren't you?
Yes, I am. And the first glass of iced tea has went down. I've gotten rid of my morning voice, and now I've switched to H2O for a couple of hours here before I need to hit the, hit the sauce again, as you would
Toast.
call it. Toast, kampai, cheers. And Jeffrey has shared the code. Matter of fact, we just started the recording again, Jeffrey. What's the code?
That code is Zune.
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 All right, so you got to go over to podcastmadness.com. You got to put that code in, and at the end of the show, we're going to be giving away probably some money and some prizes. Or I don't know if we're going to be able to do it at the end of the show. Jeffrey, if you're with me, I guess we will, because you're the key master to that system over there.
Well,
And
if we're doing it during recordings, maybe we should wait a week and let people hear some of the recordings and then add to it.
yeah, that would be good. So, Rob, while I'm kind of resetting here, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about yourself and about Zune and
Okay.
what's happening over there?
Well, my name is Rob Greenlee, and I work on the Zune team. I've been working on podcasts for the Zune since about October of 2007, and I've been slowly building the catalog and doing a lot of marketing and a lot of featuring a podcast for many years on the platform. And the platform right now is kind of expanding, so but I can get into that a little bit more. Yeah, I spent about 7 years or so doing a broadcast show called Web Talk Radio, and it was on like satellite radio and on broadcast for many years, and started podcasting, and that's kind of how Todd and I met quite a few years back, right at the beginning of the podcasting era, and so I kind of moved to work on the Zoom platform to help build their catalog. Really, I think because of that background, and so it's been almost 3 years now that I've been working on the Zoom, and it's still growing and moving forward, and it's really exciting what's happening to the platform as the podcasts are expanding across, into other areas of the company now. So, and I was going to talk about that, a little bit later. And Todd, I also wanted to mention too, I do have some T-shirts,
Oh, you
some
do?
Zune, yeah,
Cool.
some T-shirts, and I have a Zune branded yo-yo.
Oh,
So I
yeah.
don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, I got some Let's put that up on the main screen here so everyone
And I
can.
have a Zune sticker. It's kind of hard to tell what this looks like, but it's like a vinyl sticker that has the Zune name and brand and logo, and you can't really see it because it's a peel off.
Right.
But yeah, I can certainly contribute some T-shirts, and they're really really nice shirts too. It isn't like they're junky and say Zune all over them. They're actually artwork on the front and things like that. So
Well, that's cool. Yeah, Rob, if you mail those out to me, then
yeah,
I'll kind of do a little distribution of those. We'll pick somebody from this specific hour to win some of those cool prizes. So, Jeffrey, those of you that are on, you want some Zune swag, you got to go to podcastmadness.com, put that Zune in the code. So, Rob, I tell you, as I've talked about last year, we saw amazing growth for the for podcast audiences coming into the Zune. I keep telling people that, and a lot of podcasters keep telling me, "Where are you seeing that? Where are you seeing that?" And I'm like, "Dude, you got to promote it on your sites. You got to put that Zune Marketplace link on your website. You got to promote it just as much as you do iTunes." I think my audience is running 13, 14% coming from Zune directly. And,
Yeah.
that's awesome for a single platform. That's, I don't want to say it negatively, but that's more than your market share.
Yeah, and I think that our audience or our users are very, very warm to podcasts. I mean, it's a great way to use their Zune HDs. Free content's always a really good thing. So yeah, if you can put a little link to the Zune, Zune Marketplace software, that would be fantastic, and we really help build kind of a second player in the market. I mean, it's I think we all know that iTunes and Apple really dominate the podcast area, but I think it's good for podcasters and good for the whole kind of community that there's alternative platforms. And I also see a lot of podcasters just putting up a link to their iTunes page. And I think what all podcasters need to think about is putting up links to all of the aggregators out there that might have an audience, for your podcast to reach, and to make it as easy as possible for people to subscribe to their podcast. And also make sure that you put up your podcast feed on your page too. I also see that on a lot of podcasters' page where they don't put up the RSS feed. So it's really important.
Well, you saw my article that I wrote on basically the state of podcasting. I wrote here after we got all the nominations in for the podcast awards.
Yeah.
And, be honest with you, I don't understand it. I really don't. We went to websites. I had a team in the Philippines that did they looked at 3,900 sites or something like that, and no RSS feed, no link to iTunes, no contact email on their show sites, no way to reach out to the shows through voicemail, or in other words, some sort of a hotline, which I know that's optional for some shows. No way to download the shows. I mean, we've seen it all. And podcasters ask, why is my audience not growing? Duh. I mean, it's like they refuse to do the basics just to get their show seen, sound, and heard. And the RSS feeds, wow.
It's actually across the board. It's even the major media companies are making these mistakes too. So it isn't just the independent podcasters. It's some of the biggest podcasters in the world don't do some of these basic things, and it's really amazing. So I spent a lot of time trying to work with podcasters to get their feeds set up properly and get their album art showing up good and all these things, because those are marketing points. And I know we talked a lot about this at the Blog World Expo. We had a whole session at Blog World where we kind of harped on these issues, but they're really important. Like Todd's saying, making sure that your podcast feed is properly accessible across all of the platforms that are out there. And there aren't really that many platforms that you really have to be on to get some success from your podcast.
And I think it's just critical to have your stuff listed everywhere. Now, you and I had done a session at Blog World, again, talking about the directories, and we covered really everyone out there. But, I think I think the thing that we found is we put hundreds of hours of coding into our aggregator to, I guess, for a better word, overcoming stupidness, if that's a word.
Well, I have to do that at the Zune area too. I mean, it's part of our submissions process. I've been working with the engineers there for a long time to help streamline that too. So when we parse the XML, we actually pick up all the information that's important for us to have, like the proper size album art. Because some podcast feeds will put in, 2 images in their feed. They'll put in a thumbnail and they'll put a full-size image in there. And if your parser isn't set up properly, it can sometimes grab the wrong image, and we've had that problem as well. So I've been working with engineers to make sure we're pulling the right size images, so it looks good when when I put a feature up to promote a podcast, or what it looks like in the device when it's playing back. Now, if it's a video podcast, album art is not as big of an issue on playback. But if you're an audio podcast, that album art's like front and center.
Yep. One of the folks on the chat had said, Martin O'Connor says, Todd, when you published those stats, you gave away a very expensive podcast consultation for free, and I can't believe the response you got on that. Well, it did not come cheap. There was a team of 5 or 6 people that worked on that. I've done this every year. This is the first year we did as deep as we did. And believe me, I have a whole bag of other tricks that we've not announced yet from that data. But Rob, did you know what happened after I released that?
No, what happened?
I got hate mail.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, people were like, who are you to tell us what we need to have on our shows, and who are you to tell us what's wrong and what's right, or who makes you God? And I mean, it was like, whew. The comments on the website, a couple of them were basically grammar stuff. But otherwise than that, I mean, I was like, wow. So thank you very much.
You're kind of like giving advice to teenagers, right? And they
Yeah.
always say, oh, Dad doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, this is one of those instances.
And I'm like, okay, go ahead, do what you're going to do.
Yeah.
So what's going on? What's happening in Zune? What's the scuttlebutt?
What's new is that the Zune podcast area has migrated over to Media Center. I'd say that's the biggest news, and that's one of the areas I've been working on kind of the most here is making sure that all the podcasts, this is primarily video podcasts right now, are in that experience, and we're starting to turn the engine up on marketing and promoting it. So I would say that's the biggest news. And if you want to, I can actually show you the kind of what it looks like through my webcam here.
Now, is it already been released? Because I've got a Windows 7 machine here, and I don't know if it's got you know what? If you have the latest version of Skype, you can share your screen there, Rob.
Can I? Okay.
Yeah, and being that you're
it's
on
a different computer, though.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool.
So that's the experience right now. It's in its own area. It's a Zune podcast area. It's only video podcasts.
Right.
But if you can see here, and I'll scroll into one of the podcasts here, and you can kind of see it shows all the episodes. And if you go in here, and so you can see up here in the kind of the upper right-hand corner, there's a.
I'm sorry.
Album art. Yeah.
You heard that? I'm booting it here.
Oh, you are? Okay.
And I haven't set it up with my version of Windows yet, so I'm going through the Express setup here.
So you just click play.
Yep.
And it actually will start playing.
UFOs to ghost and psychic powers.
Oh,
So it
very
plays
cool.
Full screen.
You can turn back now and learn the stuff they don't want you to know.
So that's the Stuff They Don't Want You to Know podcast.
So what area is it? Is it from the main screen when you're actually in Windows Media Center? Which section? Is it under pictures and videos, or where is it actually under?
It's actually in the ITV section. So
Okay.
here I'll show you. I'll back up to the very top screen.
So if you click on TV.
Okay, so you come up and there's the top screen. So right below the TV listing is an ITV kind of icon. It's the internet television icon. And then click on that, and it takes you into a landing page that has a bunch of featured areas. Like at the top there is the Victoria's Secret fashion show, and
Right.
there's a bunch of other podcasts that are actually featured. So this second row here is full of TV shows and podcasts that are all kind of placed together. So like this one right now, the one that's highlighted here, is actually a video podcast.
Right.
So we have video podcast being merchandised right next to a broadcast TV show.
Oh, that's cool. I guess
So
I'm looking at it here on my side, Rob, and I've clicked on the TV, and it shows recorded TV. And do I have to go down? No. I'm still not seeing it on my side. So I'm trying to figure out where. That's odd.
Yeah. So anyway, on the screen here, you can see if you go down to the channels,
Right.
and I think maybe at the top up there, this week our area features. So if you look at the top up there, there's different TV shows that are available
Yep.
up at the top, and I think,
Oh, there it goes. Must be it took a little bit of time for it to load.
yeah.
Aha.
Okay, it doesn't look like the Zune podcasts are at the top menu, but they're down in the channels area down
Yep.
here.
Yep.
So you
very-
just click that and you go into it.
Yeah, I'm installing Internet TV right now, so that's what it was. It wasn't quite installed yet.
Okay.
Ah. Very,
Yeah. So that's a separate kind of download that has to be installed before you'll get that whole experience.
Yeah. Well, this is big, Rob. This is huge. Okay, yep, I found the Victoria's Secrets, and let me slide by here. Let me go ahead and come back up on main screen, and I'll actually put this on the monitor. I can do that. And let me go ahead and switch over. And we can actually bring this. Oh, what's going on there? Live output didn't go. Okay. How come I don't have a external view? Oh, that's weird. Well, all good things here are coming.
You just had it up, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And it went down. I don't know why it went down. That was kind of odd. So that is just, that's going to start driving. I'm going to have to start promoting that because that's definitely going to drive. I think I know what's going on here. Aha. I understood what happened. Now we'll be able to bring this back up. Yeah, what happens is go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say that this is just part of our overall strategy of 3 screens.
Mm-hmm.
So we're now actually, the third screen is mobile. If you consider the Zune HD as a mobile, we're already hitting the 3 screens.
Right.
With podcasts today. So it's on your PC, on your portable device, and now on your television.
So if I was going to navigate this then, Rob, all I have to do is, from this screen where I'm at showing you right now, to be able to find the actual podcast. You said you've got it in and amongst, like...
Yeah, as far as on a rotating basis, and there's one area that I haven't showed you yet, and that's it. If you go back to the main screen...
Uh-huh.
If you scroll over one to the guide,
mm-hmm.
That area there is a guide of podcasts and TV shows that are all laid out by genre,
right?
With shortcut links. So in all of those areas is TV shows and podcasts. So if you scroll across like to the movies one,
mm-hmm.
and go to Rotten Tomatoes, right there, yeah. That's a video podcast that pulls out of the
oh, nice
Zune experience. So you just click on one of those episodes, and it'll play right in your window there. So we have kind of various ways that users can get into the content.
Yep. So obviously you're going to have a pretty high production value in order to make the Zune actually the Windows Media Center, don't you think?
Yeah, actually, I'm looking for as much HD podcasts as I can get my hands on.
Oh, does it have to be HD?
No, it doesn't. But it's, as you would imagine, most people that are playing this on their television are playing on an HD television. So,
hey, Rob,
I want to give them the best experience possible. But it doesn't have to be. It just be a good quality video, and I think we'll play well on all on all of the screens.
Right. One thing I noticed here, Rob, and I'm going to have to bust your chops a little bit. News, comedy, drama, movie, sports. Where's tech?
Right? Okay, I didn't control this part. So actually, this area was created more from a television kind of perspective.
Yeah.
So I would say that the company is not quite there yet when it comes to realizing that there's video in the tech area. So So I think that that's something that I will definitely make sure that the team knows that that's one that should be there.
Now, what they need to do is they need to make this so people can add this, a one-click subscribe to bring this into Windows Media Center. And if they do that, then guess what?
Well,
They got a winner.
we do have a little widget that sits on the desktop
Uh-huh.
that will actually, and it's part of the, if you go into the widget area, yeah, it'll show up on your desktop. That'll actually give you like shortcut links and will keep you up to date with the content that's in these ITV or the Internet TV experience.
Right.
And it'll give you like an image and shortcut links. Actually, it's a little widget that sits off to the right-hand side of your Windows 7 machine.
Uh-huh.
And I could probably show you it really quick, just
Now,
so everybody can see what I'm talking about.
yeah, sure.
It's right there.
Oh, yep. So it actually sits right on your desktop.
Yep.
Now, the question is, boy, I tell you, you gotta get to these guys. I know you're already telling them this, but where this is going to be a winner is if I can, from my website say, hey, you can watch the Geek News Central video podcast on your Windows Media Center. Click here and add it to your ITV lineup. That way you give the viewer the choice. And see, what I like about this is this would allow us to not have to go to third parties like MediaFly that's trying to make all these, trying to be the, it's all about individual content creators having control, I think is the best. So,
No, I agree.
so how much influence do you have over there with that team?
Well, I mean, to be real honest with you, I've already made all those suggestions already.
Yep.
So you're preaching a little bit to the choir on that.
Okay.
So if it, and I don't know if it's going to happen. It's hard to say. I mean, I know that there's a lot of planning going on right now for the next couple of years.
Do we need a letter writing campaign to Microsoft? Oh.
Yeah, Todd. Yeah, it's basically like a political campaign. You have to get petitions.
That's right. And I'm sure we can get and we'd have to make it very polite.
Of course.
And politically correct.
Stones.
Yes, absolutely. And say, love this, but,
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. So, what kind of traction are people, do you have any feedback from those shows that are actually getting some airtime, how this is impacting them? Are their servers getting crushed?
Well, keep in mind this is only available on Windows 7.
Right.
So all the folks that had Media Center on Vista and XP can't get access to this, unfortunately. So the ramp up of this will follow right along with the ramp up of Windows 7, and we're still early days of the adoption of Windows 7. So as that adoption grows and people upgrade, and I think that audience is continue to grow and get larger, and because right now the Zune podcast experience is only in the U.S. So as that rolls out to other countries, and that's just part of what Media Center does, is it's a multi-country kind of experience. So I would expect that it would eventually roll out across the world in some form, and it would include podcasts as well. So I think that that you're just going to see over the next couple of years until and beyond even the next version of Windows, that things will continue to grow and get larger in that area.
I think the thing that excites me here, and I'm actually looking for a different overlay for the for this show. It's like it's on my 2-year plan. If it's going to be a couple years before this gets refined. I don't know if you were listening earlier when I was talking with Ming Yang, but I think that fits into my 2-year plan. What do you think?
I think it fits into any video podcaster's strategy. I think moving forward, it's hard to say how big the media center experience is going to get, but I think this was a big step forward for the platform to add this variety of content, because right now we've got close to 5,000 video podcasts in the catalog right now.
Right.
Though that's not a huge chunk, what we have in there is most of the best stuff that's out there right now. And if we can get it up to, if we can add another 10 or 15,000 feeds in there and really build out the genres of the catalog, then we really have a compelling offering. And as more of this moves towards video, this is a great platform. And really, I think one of the big reasons that they added podcasts to the Media Center experiences is because it basically attracts a little bit of a younger user. The Media Center platform was basically being used by, older people that were kind of geeks, and having content in there that's a little younger, I think, makes it more appealing to younger users to get in and start using that experience. So I'm really optimistic that it's going to be a win-win for the Media Center product, and podcasters, and the audience out there that wants to extend their laptop or their notebook to their TV as an experience. Though more people are doing that today, with a lot of the streaming options that are out there. That's clearly a trend that's happening right now.
It all comes down to this, and I'm holding a small remote control.
Yes,
it really does.
Yeah, and I've got one here too for my media center.
Actually, I've got a big one back here too.
Yeah, and you just kind of sit back. I mean, you just got to get yourself a 30+ inch computer monitor, and you've got another TV.
Yep, absolutely. I think it just fits right into, everything that I'm kind of thinking is going to happen moving forward. And it makes it an interesting prospect. It really does. Because, if you look at this, folks, for those of you that are on the stream, now let me switch this over. If you think about that, here's, again, I think everyone really needs to realize the power in this. For anyone that's creating media, to have your video podcast in amongst, okay, what have we got on here? We've got The Amazing Race, we've got The Today Show, we've got Face the Nation, we got Medium, and right here, Rotten Tomato shows.
Yep.
Now, if that does not get anyone that's creating media jumping out of their skin, I mean, here in Hawaii we call it chicken skin. I don't know. Does everyone call it chicken skin? You get chickens. That gives me chicken skin, Rob, to see that. It really does. I mean,
Todd, I have to say, I've never heard that saying before. Chicken skin.
Yeah. Well, anyone ever butchered a chicken and pulled the feathers off, you know what I'm talking about, chicken skin, because we all get it.
I guess I've never butchered a chicken, I guess.
So, that motivates me to the point where I really, because okay, so let's just say that Rotten Tomatoes, this is new in its infancy. It's starting in Windows 7. Not everyone's using Windows Media Center. So let's, how many millions of copies of Windows 7 have been sold?
I'm not really sure, but that number is growing every day. Yeah.
Right. So let's say, let's just take a number, and it's probably more than this. Let's say 10 million copies of Windows 7. It's probably way higher than that. And Rob doesn't know what the number is, so I don't want to get Rob in trouble here. So this is Todd speaking. Let's say it's 10.
I honestly don't. So it's millions, yes.
So let's say 10 million, and let's say 5% of that 10 million go in and load Windows Media Center. That's still 500,000 people. And let's say they're searching around, and of that 500,000 people, let's say 10% click on Rotten Tomatoes. That's 50,000 people.
Yeah.
That have
the
a chance.
Numbers get very compelling, very fast.
People don't. They just don't think. And okay, chat. Come on, chat. You guys need to. Are you compelled to start doing video? I think the audience is dumbfounded. Jeffrey, are
It's
you up on
so easy to do video now. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
what do you think?
Well, actually, I've been doing video over on on Blip.tv, and I've been all of a sudden I've seen a new avenue of revenue. But in all reality, I never even thought of talking to Zune and getting that set up. So it's not as much ignorance as just not remembering how to do it.
Well, it's probably
So
not
many
even
different
knowing, right?
Yeah. But now that I've seen that and now that I've heard that, I think I need to go over to Zune and make sure my video stuff's up there.
Yeah. And I've been pushing SD. I haven't switched over to HD, and it makes me compelled maybe next year to. I've got 2 HD cameras and I have 2 SD cameras, so that might compel me to pushing, to buying 2 new cameras and flipping everything to HD. But Rob, the file sizes for an hour and 15 minutes of HD?
Yeah, they're fairly large. Yes.
Who's going to pay
Keep
for
your
that
shows
bandwidth?
short and succinct.
Short and, yeah, okay.
Yeah, is that possible, Todd?
No, impossible. And I can't even open my
Nobody's
mouth and
long-winded around here at all. I mean, Todd, you're only doing a 24-hour podcast.
oh, an hour. I can't say what I want to say in 2 minutes. I can't say what I want to say in 75 minutes, let alone 10 minutes. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh!
It's true.
But this is more than a directory. This is a media presence. If you
Yeah.
look, again, you look at what we're seeing here. We're seeing CBS prime time. It's kind of funny because I always use CBS as an example when I'm talking with my team members about, a website that shows media well. And you got news, comedy, drama, movies, sports. And so I guess in retrospect then, what do you think, what's going on with a Roku and those devices, Rob?
Well, I think what we're seeing is a blending of the online media with the broadcast medium all the time. And, I've got a TiVo box that I watch podcasts on as well. So I'm not just all about, just that Zune's the only place
Right.
that you can get this stuff. But it certainly is like on TiVo, I subscribe to a podcast and it comes in and it shows up in my playlist just like any other TV show that I've recorded. So I think that the bigger trend that we're seeing here is the video podcasts and the broadcast stuff, since it's recorded and on demand, are blending together. And I think it's a huge opportunity for the independent content creators to get into that game, because more people are watching video on demand off of a recording, which is really no real difference than a video that's been downloaded, right?
Yeah.
So you go into your list of programs and you watch what's either been recorded or downloaded. It really makes no difference, and that's exactly what I'm doing on my TiVo box. And hopefully, I think over the next couple of years, the experience in Media Center and Zune, and as we bring these worlds together, you'll have a similar type of experience where TV will be showing up in the same place the video podcasts are showing up, and so it's really easy for you to get to the videos that you're interested in, no matter where it comes from.
Yeah.
And it really, that's the bigger trend that's happening. Is it's not just about streaming. What it's about is getting a deeper set of content that you can find that better fits what your interests are, and creating an experience that brings it all together and makes it easy for you to get to.
Yeah, I think it's. I think instead of being hard, it's going to become very, very easy for the consumer. And
because it's been way too hard to get podcasts.
Yeah.
It's been separated. You have to go into different setup areas, you have different directories, all this kind of stuff. And if it's just all integrated into where everybody is already, There's some power there.
And here's the thing too. The folks over Apple have done us no favors. They have not made it easier to consume the content. But when you open the Zune, when you bring up the player on Zune, and the menu in there is music, video, podcast on the main page, and you click on that with your thumb, and it opens up the directory, you all have made it easy. And subscribing is easy in the Zune Marketplace. Of course, you've got your web-based side as well. But
right there on the screen, Todd.
Yeah,
See,
right there.
podcast
Well,
right there.
hang on. Let me switch that out. Right there. There it is. And it's just made it so simple. Oh, you just hit social media, Rob. You went the wrong way.
I did. I can't push buttons upside down.
Yeah. So we got right there, Adam
yeah.
Carolla Show, and a variety of other ones. And it's just, it's easy. The folks over at Apple have not changed their iTunes podcast interface since June of 2005. It's basically stayed exactly the same. They have not innovated. Now, we'll see what happens with them having purchased Lala and if they're going to have a web-based front. But you guys are already, several years ahead of them in that experience. So, when people ask me where I'm seeing growth, I'm not seeing growth in iTunes. I'm seeing a decline. I'm seeing user numbers go. I'm going to put my hand up here. I'm seeing my user numbers in iTunes go south, and all the other consumption methods are going up. And this may not be the case for other content creators, but if they are not diversifying, and if they're not realizing that audience members are other places, guess what they're doing? Hey, see you later. The train's moving forward, and we'll see you someplace down the road when you decide to get caught up.
Yeah.
And that's my opinion.
Well, we can always hope.
So what's going on with the platform itself?
Well, I would say that we're continuing charging ahead, adding more podcasts. Things are really, I think the stage that we're at right now is planning for kind of what's next, right?
Yeah.
How do we build a platform? And really, I think that the big difference that we're seeing today versus what Zune used to be is that it's more of a platform, less of a device. And I think most people, when they think of Zune, they think of a device, and they think of the Zune HD or the Zune 80 or the Zune 30. And it's really not that. It's actually becoming much broader than that. We're going into, Zune is now in Xbox. So the team that I'm on is managing all the content on Xbox now. And as far as on the video and movie side.
Yep.
And though video podcasts are not on Xbox yet, or I'm not sure if they ever will be, but they are accessible through the Zune device on Xbox and through the media center, through the extender technology that's integrated into the Xbox experience. So if you have an Xbox, you can pull your media center experience right to your television and get to the ITV stuff, especially if you're running Windows 7. So you can get video podcasts going to if you have a 72-inch flat screen HD television, you can experience this stuff in theater-like experiences. That's exactly what I do in my house. I've got a 72-inch television, and I can pull in my video podcasts onto that kind of a screen, and it's a game changer, totally. I mean, to be able to consume this stuff easily and conveniently on your television, with the remote control, sitting back like we consume other video media, has boosted my podcast consumption dramatically. Like last night, I probably watched 10 video podcasts, where, on my Zune HD, I probably watch maybe one a day.
Right.
I actually probably spend more of my time listening to audio podcasts on my portable device So I kind of see that as the evolution here, is that the video podcast stuff has kind of like been, it's this brewing opportunity, but it has to connect to the television. Because if it doesn't, that content's not going to get consumed as much. And it's not even going to get consumed as much on the PC, on your laptop. People like to do other things on their laptops. But on their televisions, they're sit there to consume video. And it's just getting a selection of content out there that fits everybody's interests. And I think that we still have some room to grow on that. I think that there's content genres out there that are not being satisfied in the podcast area that could be extended to the television. But I think that there still needs to be some metrics that are out there that can help content providers justify the investment. And I know that's one area of my concern as well. I don't have a lot of control over that, but I keep pushing the platform to make it more enabled for better tracking and better monetization. And that's going to be a key driver for the future.
You know, I had someone here in my studio about a week ago, and they had it was a local television station that kind of wanted to see what I was doing. And they walked in, and, you know, I kind of walked them through the process of what I have here. And the gentleman that was the production guy, he's like, "Where's your production staff?" I'm like, "I'm in." And, you know, I showed him here, I've got the, you know, right on my desk, I've got my switcher where I can switch people. And obviously I goof up on that from time to time and maybe can't get all the overlays changed as quickly as I want to. And he walked out of here. Well, the word he said to me is, "I need to polish up my resume." He was dumbfounded. And it was from a major television outlet. And these were some heavy hitters. And they wanted to come in and see what I was doing. And what even blew him away the more, because I had Ohanasaurus up at the time, and they wanted to see what that was like. So I popped online. There was just a couple of people. I'm like, "Call in here right now. I need to show this." And a couple of people called in. And they, like, right now you're up on the screen. And the guy is just, like, flabbergasted. And I said, "Oh, this is cool. Don't worry. I can put a main screen just like that, you know." And he just didn't know what to think. Make a long story short here was that and he said, "What kind of computers you got?" Well, I said, "I got a Windows machine recording the audio, a Windows machine that's running the TriCaster. I have a Windows machine doing this." He said, "Well, I see this Mac underneath your desk." He says, "What's that for?" And I said, "I haven't turned that on in about a month." I said, "That's for when I go out and do interviews and shoot HD. I do a little video editing on that." And I think the thing that blew him away was that this is a Windows-dominated space. And he says, "Well, you know, at the studio, or actually at the newsroom, you know, we're predominated by, you know, a variety of," and he says, "You're doing everything." He was blown away that we could do everything on Windows platforms. So,
He was. That's amazing.
yeah, he didn't. So, in a long story short, I think when they left here, and, you know, I told them what the cost was, and, you know, the cost of equipment is not insignificant here,
No.
but the amount of dollars that it would have cost to have done this for someone 10 years ago would have been in the millions. And what I have invested here is well under probably, to do what I do exactly the way I do, if I was to build it from scratch, minus the cameras, is probably $25,000.
It's a pretty nice setup there you got.
Yeah, so
I have to say.
But, you know, and the majority of it is in the TriCaster. But you know, there are other options out there. You've got when I go on the road, I use a program called Video Blaster. I can run 3 cameras in it. I can have overlays. I can run videos, and that program's about $1,000. And all you need is a real beefy Windows machine multi-core Windows machine to do it, and I travel with a multi-core Windows laptop for that. So, you don't have to spend the money I've spent to be able to do what I've done. And anyone can create this stuff. And you probably, some of those folks, the Rotten Tomatoes folks, I bet you that they are shooting off a single camera with a simple backdrop, doing their video editing on a regular, probably a laptop or something, don't you think?
I would probably say so, but the Rotten Tomato show is produced by Current TV, so they
Oh,
probably have a little bit more
right.
capability than your typical video podcaster. But
Yeah,
since they have a TV network,
right.
but I think if you look at how they produce that show, it's probably done off of just a couple of cameras and a couple laptops, and that's how they produce those shows, I would imagine.
Yep,
So,
yep.
I mean, it's so easy to do that now. Well, I shouldn't say it's easy. It takes some trial and error, and it's kind of easy for us to say that it's so easy because
Yeah,
we've been doing this stuff for a long time. But it does take some effort and it takes some learning of how to connect everything up and get it to work. And you're a testament to that, building the studio that you've been building for years now. This isn't something you just put
no,
together last week.
no.
This is something that, it's the same thing I did for many years in my own studio in my spare bedroom as I went out and spent about $15,000 to create a audio recording studio that could have 3 mics and Skype in and multiple channels, and I could take phone calls through a hybrid and for broadcast quality radio.
Yep,
So I know exactly what you're doing. I mean, but you're taking it to another level by adding video. I never added video to my studio. Of course, back in the late 90s and early 2000s, it didn't really make a lot of sense to do that. Um, but nowadays, I mean, you can stream video for free now.
yep.
You can, I
That's what
mean,
we're doing
sure,
right now.
those video files are large, but the cost of bandwidth is definitely coming
Yep.
down, and I hope that it continues to come down, because that's what's going to enable all this stuff to be accessible to everyday kind of users. I mean, I would love to see, at some point everybody having their own show, or it can be a private broadcast or something like that they can do to their own family, or when they go out and record on their HD camera on their phone, which I'm sure we're all going to have HD video cameras on our phones in the next couple of years, that you just start publishing that, and you just have your privacy groups that you have that you publish it to, and hopefully the technology will get us to that point where we have some control over the distribution of the video that we produce, and we can make it as broad or as narrow as we can, but our live stream is put out there for our family and friends to see, and I just think we're seeing the very beginnings of that on Facebook. It hasn't extended to where I think it's ultimately going to go, but I think there's a lot of pressures on the broadband side from the Comcasts of the world, and to kind of pull back, right, on how much bandwidth is available to all of us. And I think there is some concern about that as well, that these companies are more focused on profits than they are about making their networks, accessible to users. And I think it's a struggle. This network neutrality issue is continuing to be an issue that could impact us all.
And I look at today what it takes to push this show. Really, I've got a separate DSL connection which is tied to Hanosaurus. It's dedicated to those two channels. Then I'm pushing on cable the video stream, and then I really kind of have a separate system that I'm watching. The backup is kind of my fail-safe mode to make sure we're still on the air. But all told, using quite a little bandwidth here. We're going to use a lot over the next 24 hours. So if the networks had or the Comcast and the Time Warners of the world had their way, we could go about, based upon the amount of data I'm pushing per hour, we could probably go about 10 hours, and then we'd be use our
cut
quota for
off.
the month. Yeah, we'd have to get off for a whole month. So
Yeah, and that's not a good trend.
no,
You know,
no.
that's the situation. And I think that the tiered service is probably coming. They just haven't been able to successfully push it through. But it just feels like, this momentum towards that has been building for a couple of years now. And I think eventually it'll push through. And I think video is bringing it to the forefront for them.
And I
I think it's also an issue for the wireless operators too.
yeah,
I don't know if
let's go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna say, I don't know if you saw the news that came out about, what was it, AT&T saying that they wanted users to conserve their bandwidth.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that or not.
You
I
know,
had to laugh about that.
conserve my bandwidth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a noble cause to conserve your bandwidth on their wireless network. It's like a nonprofit type of cause.
Mm-hmm. I told all my listeners to download the Major League Baseball app or any other streaming app and just start it, connect your power plug to it, and then just set it off the site and let it run.
You're so
No, we are paying them. I pay $129 a month for this phone. $129 a month.
It's expensive.
And they're going to tell me to conserve bandwidth? I pay DSL connection, sitting right back there that's driving the Skybosaurus, $29.95. A commercial business cable account, $89.95. So I guess $90, $29. So let's see here, we're up to what, $120 if my math is right. And then I have a clear connection that's going to go bye-bye. So that's another $30 or whatever it is. So I'm up to $150. I have a huge amount of bandwidth for $150, and I'm paying $129 for a phone they want me to conserve bandwidth on?
It doesn't speak well for their network if they have to get their users to conserve network capacity.
This is a 24-hour podcast, and I'm not compelled to be child safe as much. They can kiss my ass. Oh, there we go. We got a kitty on him.
Cy decided to come up that he wanted on the broadcast too, so he just walked in front of the camera.
Oh, that's funny. They say you have to have a cat on the show to to gain listeners. So,
warm fuzzies.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's just it just blows me away. It really does, Rob. I don't get it, and I tell people, come on, get passionate about it, get mad, get angry, and
Yeah.
I think people just think that things are just going to continue to be the same, and they're not going to have to worry. I'm worried, but
Yeah.
you make enough people angry, then we'll see what happens. Take their bandwidth away and see what happens.
Yeah, I think that the only way it's going to open up is that we have to continue to keep harping on this, and there needs to be competitors in the market. I think that's the other big thing, that more and more ways of getting bandwidth outside of these core providers is also something that would be really, really good. I think that the clear that you were talking about is an alternative that can put pressure on these wireless operators. WiMAX certainly hasn't hit its stride yet.
Right.
But I've always thought that had the potential to be a game changer for the wireless phone industry, because then, I could carry around a Wi-Fi phone or a WiMAX phone and get access to, phone calls and, now granted, I probably wouldn't be able to get access to text messages, but it depends on, what capabilities the network have.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to bypass those wireless operators, since they like to control everything so much. And I've thought about that a lot. There's ways I think you can do it if you get, like one of those MiFi cards.
Yep.
And just use a Wi-Fi phone. you can do some of that stuff right now. You can't get text messages, but you can do pretty much anything else. So I think that there are ways you can get around these wireless operators, but as far as ubiquitous broadband on a mobile basis, it's still a fairly locked up market.
Yeah, I agree too. Well, I tell you, we're at the bottom of the hour, Rob. That went fast.
It did.
It did, but we're open lines for the next 90 minutes. So if you want to hang out a little bit, you can. I don't know what's on your schedule. But what I'm going to probably do is, why don't you, again, if anyone needs help getting their podcast on Zune, why don't you give them your 411 and how they can reach out to you?
If you're having trouble getting your podcast on the Zune platform, and it's not always unfortunately, it's still kind of a lengthy process at this point. But shoot me an email at rob@zune.net, and I'd be happy to help you. So, and I can get it submitted, get it into the catalog. But you can go to Zune.net, go to the podcast homepage area off of Zune.net. At the very top of the page, you'll see a link, and it's one of the main links off of the front page that says podcasts. And just go there, and you can submit your feed there. Or if you're running the Zune software, you can just go to the podcast page in the Zune software in the Zune marketplace, and there's a link in there to submit a podcast there. So those are the ways to get your podcast in the catalog. There is also once your podcast is in the catalog, there is a place you can go on the website at Zune.net, to get a deep link to your podcast page in the Zune software and off of the website. And if you go scroll to the very bottom of the page, you'll see a link at the very bottom. It's a bunch of text links right at the bottom, and one's is like tools and gadgets. And if you click on that link and then click on the link at the very top of the page, you'll see, kind of like tools. You click on that, and then you can search for your podcast and get the deep links to your podcast that will actually pull up the Zune software and load your page, not unlike what you're probably presently doing with iTunes links. And then I can also get you off of that page links to the Zune software page for your podcast too, which we are streaming in Silverlight, all the video and audio podcasts that are in the catalog today. So that's how it works. Thanks, Todd.
Hey, Rob, thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for getting me caught up with what's going on, and look forward to seeing that technology link on the Windows Media Center there here in the near future. I know you're going to be able to.
Yes, I am too. That would be very exciting.
Yeah, and if you want us to start a little, I guess, suggestion campaign, I guess what we need to do is we need to blog about this, and
blog. I agree.
Yeah, blog about it.
Blog and podcast.
That's right. Blog about the Windows Media Center and the capability of getting more shows on there, more categories, and maybe the folks over that are running the Windows Media Center team will say, "Hey, we're getting some attention here. Let's make some changes to the interface." Because
they'll actually come by and bash me. Rob, would you get started? They're gonna blame me.
Well, that's okay, but it's we'll do gentle attention back to Windows Media Center, and I know this just gravels the Apple guys hides a little bit, because that's all iTunes has is just iTunes. Good luck finding shows on iTunes, but this makes it easy, and of course Zune Marketplace too, prominently displayed. Podcasters just prominently displayed within there. Anyway, we'll go ahead, and I'm going to reset all the recordings. I have to do that once an hour here to make sure that we don't overload our hosting providers. And so I'm going to sign off for hour 2 and a half of the 24-hour podcast. We would encourage you to make donations to Ronald McDonald House Charities. There's a link at geeknewscentral.com. Every dollar helps. And we'll have to check the totals here in a little bit and see where we're at for the first couple hours of the show. Thanks for coming on, Rob, and helping us with compelling content. But I'm going to go ahead and...
Did you guys want to give away something?
We're going to do that at the. How do I want to do that? Do you have the list,
Yeah, I
Mike?
got it all loaded up in randomizer.
Okay, give me a winner. He's
Joel Hazenut.
Joel Hazenut. Email Joe Jeffrey and get his contact info, and we'll get him down and we'll send him. Rob, what's the best thing you had? Did you have a T-shirt? Did you have a yo-yo, or what was the best thing you had to?
I would say that this. I don't know if you're into yo-yos or not. Yeah, it does kind of a flashing light.
Yeah.
So when it spins, it flashes light. It's totally a keepsake.
It's one of those
But,
things that you keep on the desk.
Yeah, so that and a really cool black T-shirt with kind of like artwork on it. I can forward a couple of some extra larges.
Yeah, let's give Joel a T-shirt, and then we'll
Okay.
save the yo-yo and an additional T-shirt to the end of the show. Thanks, Rob.
Hey, no problem. I enjoy doing it.
That's the best way to win. All right, so let me go ahead and do the reset here on the recording, and then I'll be back with. We're still live. We're not going anywhere, so just hang out, folks. Okay, be right here. And if you guys, we'll open up the Ohana source here as well. Okay.